Okay, this this is great. In their personnel recommendations, this is 684. Increase employee satisfaction experience to improve recruitment and retention of VA personnel. Go beyond the traditional focus on the extrinsic monetary pay and bonuses and seek creative ways to instill teamwork, loyalty, and pride. So it's like
Mandatory fun day.
You
So-
heard that the same way I did.
Sorry, say that again. Say that again.
Mandatory fun day.
What does that mean?
It means you will have fun or
Mandatory
the beatings
fun.
will continue.
Hello and welcome to the Project 2025 Emergency Book Club Comedy Podcast Project Extravaganza Roundup Dumpster Fire.
Yeah, dumpster fire, man. That totally makes sense.
Yeah. Today I'm being joined by Billie Jo Gillispie, who is a stand-up comedian, and Marine. I've learned not to say ex-Marine. I've been castigated for that. We've got Pete Barlow, who is an Army veteran and stand-up comedian, and not appearing on screen for reasons that we will keep shrouded in mystery.
It's because I care too much about the viewers. I don't want them to have to see my hideous face.
That argument falls apart because we are seeing a still photo of your hideous face. So,
Photoshop works wonders, you know.
okay.
Hat and glasses helps too.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Hide your forehead and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
well,
otherwise, I just look like a thumb with a face drawn on it.
Oh man.
and we're joined by Leah Mansfield, stand-up comedian, Air Force veteran, and Dodger fan, it would appear.
Yes.
So today we are going to go through the section on the Department of Veterans Affairs, known as the VA, and I want to hear from you guys. You know, my basic perceptions are, they sort of present this idea that like veterans count, and we want a real veterans-centric set of policies. And there's some veterans we don't really care about. We don't really want to go into that. But like the big theme, which is a theme that runs throughout this document, is let's privatize and not have the government be involved quite so much with the care for our veterans. Would you say that's like a decent read on what they're going for here?
Yes, that's exactly where it is. They want to privatize it so that they can milk the government and say, oh, but it was going to save money.
Yeah. I think the big thing that I read into it was the way the Veterans Administration is set up now is it's very integrated healthcare, right? Like I can go to the same place to get my mental health care, the women's clinic, like whatever else I need, right? And they work with each other at that location. So sometimes I'll bounce to and go to different, places in the same location. And when you privatize it and you spit it back out to corporations, you're going to take away that centralized care the Veterans Hospital is veteran-centric because the only people that go there are veterans. But now you go to privatize stuff and you're going to have other people besides veterans.
Yeah.
Now you're dismantling this thing that they've built up that allows you to get all your care in one place and talk to each other and integrate. So that part, I was very sad to hear about that.
Yeah, so by privatizing and sort of outsourcing the care to other people, they're making it way less veteran-centric, even though that is what they claim is their main mission, right?
It is in fact the opposite.
They talk a lot of smack about the VA facilities, like the hospitals, and they're like, all these buildings are so old, and so we don't, and they don't really even approach the idea of building a new facility. They just say like, all these buildings are so old, so why don't we just outsource to like, there's places that already have buildings and they're called corporations, and we can just draw on them as opposed to, you know,
Josh.
as you're sort of suggesting, what about building a new VA facility that had that all that stuff in house that just served veterans?
I remember that being one of Trump's campaign promises in 2016. You're talking about, just like building like the best state of the art VA hospitals, and I don't think that happened.
Look into the building of the new Denver VA facility that is like the one that Leah was describing, that was built during World War II. It was not big enough, and it took so long that building codes changed. We heard in
Classic.
the hearings about what all went wrong, that some of the equipment did not fit in the exam rooms. Now, once I went to the new VA, to the women's clinic, I found out what the problem was. Engineers didn't understand how long an exam bed is for the GYN.
Sounds about right.
If they actually got the bed in there, there was no room for the doctor.
Oh. No,
So I could see why they're like, oh, we really fucked that one up. Maybe we should outsource.
Yeah.
Doctors are overrated when it comes to healthcare.
It's bad enough I have to let them see in it. I don't need them to have to crawl into it to see it.
Say you go in for a pap smear, they bring in a watcher. Like there's another lady that just comes in and is like, make sure everything's going cool. So now you've got to cram 2 people down there without enough room for even one.
Yeah. Okay. So here's this part that I was talking about. This is page 675. Today, the VA operates 172 inpatient VA medical centers, which are an average of 60 years old. So they're already setting up like we don't. They're no good. And 1,113 community-based outpatient clinics. And then they talk about the community care network through contracts with Optum and TriWest, third-party healthcare administrators responsible for building and maintaining a robust population of community providers. So they're just like kind of giving a shout out to like their corporate buddies, and they're like, yeah, here's 2 companies who are really good at what they do. And again, not knowing, it just seems like they're just trying to hype up their corporate friends and move towards privatization and go away from veteran-centric care. So this is 674, about halfway down. Current VA leadership, meaning the Biden administration, is focusing very publicly on social equity and inclusion. And, when they do quotes, it's usually they're not a fan. Within departmental policy discussions toward ends that will only affect a small minority of the veterans who use the VA. So who that could be just some women or transgender people, who knows? It's very vague, but they're definitely setting you up to say, like, if it's a small minority, why should we care?
I feel like I'm on the chopping block of people that will go, they'll just be like, yeah, we don't like her. Just chop it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a feeling that. Anyway, please continue.
Okay. For the first time, the VA is allowing access to abortion services, a medical procedure unrelated to military service that the VA lacks the legal authority and clinical proficiency to perform. Meaning, there's nobody at the VA that knows how to do that. In addition to continuing the grotesque culture of violence against the child in the womb, these socio-political initiatives and ideological indoctrinations distract from the department's core missions.
Where to begin? Just because we're a minority doesn't mean we're not veterans, doesn't mean we don't deserve care. And as far as the abortion thing, maybe if men realize that they have given up their right to decide between the woman's life or the child's life, all of a sudden it'll matter again that this is restricted. Right now, they only see it as our right is restricted. So they're good with that.
Right.
But maybe if they realize that their right to choose between well, we can only save one. Which one do you want? Do you want to raise the child alone, or no? It's, hey, good news, your wife died. Here's your kid.
So,
No government. You know, maybe if they saw it like that, they would care. If non-service care is such a problem, I don't want to see one more guy get a dick pill.
So now this, when they
Because
say
your broke dick is not service related.
when they say the VA, it says, and I just don't, I don't know that this is, I don't know how this could be true. It says for the first time, the VA is allowing access to abortion services. That can't be true.
Even to save my life, I could not have had an abortion at Camp Lejeune when I had my daughter, as abortion services on federal grounds were prohibited.
Okay.
I don't know how that got backed up, but I am glad that it did, because our women deserve the care they need.
And now is
So
this,
yes, this is a new thing that they're able to do that, and I for one am glad that they're able to do it. I was at a company celebration for somebody who was leaving. My armorer drugged my drink, and I was impregnated that night, and I did not choose to be there. Did not even know I had been in that situation.
My God, dude.
By the time I figured out I was pregnant, I was 4 months along.
okay, so you ended up having that child.
Yes, she's a blessing, but not everybody would have been able to raise the baby.
Yeah.
And women should have the choice.
Yeah.
Jesus.
It's obviously a tough story, and thanks for being willing to share that. I don't feel like I'm going out on a limb to say that that probably wasn't the first rape that ended in a pregnancy, like in the military, right? Like
right.
It's
sad reality.
Yeah. So they're trying to stop abortion.
The part I hate is the
reassignment.
grotesque culture of violence against the child in the womb.
Yeah. Yeah.
That grates on me like nails on a chalkboard.
Really, they don't have a problem with the grotesque culture of violence against women.
They love that.
They're backing a sex offender for office, so of course they're down with that shit.
Did they at least address the how to curb sexual assaults or punish sexual assaults in there?
Not much.
Anywhere in the document? Well, you said not.
When I was in the Marines, the common phrase whenever a woman would speak up about something that had been done to her was, "Why should I ruin a good Marine's career over what she says, over her accusation, her lies?" And it didn't matter what a shitbird this fucker was. He's suddenly a good Marine. And it didn't matter how outstanding she was. She's just a her.
Yeah.
She's no longer an outstanding Marine. She's just the accuser. She's just the liar.
Yeah. But to answer your question, Pete, going through the DOD section, they're referring to sexual assault or how to deal with disciplining and things like that. Not really touched on much in the. If you're, it may shock you to know that that's not something they're very focused on.
So so there's no mention of how to improve that.
They may have mentioned it. It was I'd have to go back, but it's not.
But at least it didn't stand out. I guess what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Oh, I did. I looked up when abortions became available at the VA, and it was in September of 2022 under the Biden administration.
Oh, okay.
And the policy does allow VA medical centers to offer abortions, but only in the cases of rape, incest, or when the pregnancy endangers the life or health of a pregnant veteran. You can't just go in there and be like, change my mind. This policy shift came after the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe v. Wade.
Right.
The reversal prompted the Biden administration to expand access to abortion services for veterans and eligible beneficiaries, particularly in states where abortion access has been restricted following the court's ruling. So it was literally them overturning Roe v. Wade that prompted the VA to make this change.
Because the right was taken away from American women in general, so
Right.
they were like, okay, we've got to do something at least for the veterans.
Just in cases of like rape and incest, it's not, or like the woman will die. It's not like every veteran's being like, well, if I got a condom, you know?
Yeah. So they. Okay, I'm.
So it would be in only affect women in the worst case scenario.
So they're not providing any of the fun abortions.
No fun abortions.
I'm sorry. I was like, I don't know if I should say it, and then I did. Okay, this is page 76, the Veterans Health Administration. This is under needed reforms. They want to rescind all departmental clinical policy directives that are contrary to principles of conservative governance, starting with abortion services and gender reassignment surgery. Neither aligns with service-connected conditions that would warrant VAs providing this type of clinical care, and both follow the left's pernicious trend of abusing the role of government to further its own agenda.
For what it's worth, I love the use of the word pernicious. Pernicious is a fantastic word. It's underused.
Right. I would
point.
stipulate that, but everything else though is the problem here for me. I don't know. What do you, Leah? Do you have thoughts here?
So what is the left's agenda? Isn't it just like healthcare and stuff?
No. It's for everybody to have abortions and change genders. That's the left's agenda.
I'll say this about the document. I mean, they really did hammer. Like, I was reading through, like, okay, like, when is this going to get political? And then it got to the paragraph you just read. I'm like, there we go. It's hitting on, like, the two buzziest items. This election, abortion, and transgender care. And I'm like, okay, there we go. They cut right to, like, hey, what from the VA could we possibly politicize? Boom, right there. This pisses you off. We got it right up front.
Yeah. No, it's 3 pages in, so they didn't waste much time. And then they just, they talk about, there's something about politically contrived. So are you familiar with this term? Any of you with the community care networks? That's third party people, I think, right? That's that's things outside of the VA.
Yeah.
So this is what we're talking about before. They want to expand that. They want to have more things outside of proper VA hospitals, right?
Yeah, and I think it goes back to the privatization.
Absolutely.
Which, guess who's going to get all those contracts? Guess who's going to, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be Trump and his buddies that get
The
all.
people who wrote this.
It's not that they're qualified. They're just know that they can make money this way.
One thing on page 679 is they want to reduce wait times, right? Okay, that's who would have a problem with that, right?
That's positive across the board.
Right. But then they have this thing. Okay, I'm just trying to interpret this, right? So require VHA facilities to increase the number of patients seen each day to equal the number seen by DoD medical facilities. Approximately 19 patients per provider per day. Currently, VA facilities may be seeing as few as 6 patients per provider per day. Now, I'm not able to interpret. Does that mean maybe they're actually giving good care to 6 people a day?
Well, you're never going to keep all your appointments to 10 minutes. You could put 19 people in there, and then you're going to expect the 19th person's appointment to be on time?
Yeah.
I just don't know that that's like this person might take an hour because they have this complicated thing. Another person might take 20 minutes. Why aren't we just assigning appointments based on that kind of thing and not just like, we need to get through this many people?
And we don't want exhausted doctors.
Yeah.
No, and
They
why
don't make the best choices.
we already lived through a period, all of us, where doctors were overworked and exhausted and clearly underpaid, and instead they want to go, they want to have all this other stuff, but they don't want to increase the doctor pay. That's how you keep better doctors.
This one kind of stuck out to me a little bit. This is 6 on page 680 of the PDF. Further explore how to leverage telehealth to reduce personnel costs across the enterprise and serve veterans. Continue to pursue expansion of broadband services to remote and rural areas. Okay, that sounds fine. But it's like, let's just have fewer people visiting doctors in person. I mean, that's what that is, right?
There are a lot of things that telehealth is good for.
Sure.
I think for
Right.
psychiatric health especially.
Okay.
Yeah, I use I'll go to like in person the first session and then just do telehealth for the rest. And honestly, my psychiatrist I've never met in person. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I just don't trust these people to not have more
Oh,
things.
I don't trust him either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to be like, is this broken?
Yeah. I think
I
that's
can't. Is this a bone sticking out or what's?
Yeah. I feel like that's where they're going with it. That's kind of what I was saying.
Yeah.
Recommendation number 8. This seems crazy to me.
Yes.
Are you looking at what I'm looking at?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Consider, and this is just the wording and the content. Consider aggressively recruiting retired physicians who desire to serve veterans. So, so they're like, let's get more people who decided that they were done being doctors.
I'm over it.
Yeah.
I just, yeah. Leah, do
Forgot
you
more
want to
than
speak
they
to that?
knew.
I just don't.
Well,
I don't get it.
I
Anyways.
was kind of confused by that part. Are they like offering incentive pay to come back from retirement, or it just said aggressively pursuing?
I don't know. But I will tell you this: they use a lot of graduate students and people going through residencies and stuff. And I gotta say, young people are enthusiastic. They may not have the broadest knowledge base, but they will get the answer. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And I feel like you bring someone in who's already practiced medicine for 50 years and they might know a lot, but like think of the eagerness that young doctors have compared to someone who's like, ugh.
This was funny to me. Examine the surpluses or deficits in mental health professionals throughout the enterprise, recognizing that the department needs a blend of social workers, therapists, psychologists, and psychiatrists with a focus on attracting high quality talent. Again, the second half of that is all fine, but does anybody here think that it's possible that there's a surplus of mental health professionals? Like,
No.
they lead with
Well,
that. They're like surpluses or
You go into
deficits.
any veterans group any night, and there will be at least 5 posts of, "Hey, anybody up can talk?" Because we are each other's support group way more than we have support through the VA mental health system.
Look, when your party is consistently for years talking about cutting every major program, do you really think they're going to find a deficit of mental health professionals? No. They're going to find a surplus and they're going to be like, well, we should get rid of these guys.
Yeah. So they're talking about the Veteran Benefits Administration, and this is at the bottom of 680. The wholesale benefits reform is unnecessary and politically a third rail, but effective managerial. See, whenever they say reform, they're talking about cuts. It says, but effective managerial approaches and technology tools that currently exist in the private sector could be employed to improve existing VBA activities. So they're just saying, like, we don't want to say we want to cut things with necessarily, because it's a third rail, which because you can't out loud say we're going to cut VA benefits, but maybe we should involve the private sector in to screw over veterans, so that we're not saying we're cutting benefits. We're just like switching services to these people who are like, corporations are just always better than the VA. I mean,
Everyone talks about how great healthcare is and how well it covers all of your needs.
I like that she couldn't even finish saying that sentence.
Yeah. They want to increase automation
automated rejections. I can just see that happening.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, of course.
the amount of not service connected would increase.
Mm-hmm.
And there's already enough totally service connected injuries that are not service connected.
Well, that's in this is in their benefits reform thing. Uh, the VA's schedule of rating disabilities has assigned disability ratings to a growing number of health conditions over time. Some are tenuously related or wholly unrelated to military service.
You'd be amazed what they find isn't service connected.
Mm-hmm.
But isn't that distinction ridiculous?
It will directly correlate to your job, but because you did not go to sick bay while you were in, there's no record of it, so it's not service connected.
Right. Because every 10 percentage points goes up with the amount you get from the government for your disability.
Okay. Well, so but part of this, in terms of ailments related to military service, I mean, something they mentioned here is, Agent Orange and then burn pits, which is, have led to historic increases in mandatory VBA spending in recent years. So, the way that these people frame everything, more spending is always bad, right?
Yeah. I mean, well, I'd hate to take care of all the people that went off to fight your wars.
These are like the people who, like the Congress people who, apparently represent the interests of the people who wrote this and the Heritage Foundation, voted against and tried to stop the passing of the burn pits legislation and had to be, shamed into it by Jon Stewart.
Jon Stewart.
Yeah.
We love that man.
Yeah. Also, have you ever done a Google search of like all the things that Biden passed for veterans during his administration? It's more veteran centric legislation has been passed under Biden than any other president in history. In the last 20 years, a different kind of war was fought, and now we need a different kind of post-military care.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Right. Well said.
Thank you.
Before we go any further, I did want to touch upon one topic of the document.
Please.
While we're still here, it had a lot to do with the framing of the history of the VA. It was just the selective writing where they say that pretty much they make it seem as though the VA was great until Obama took office.
He fixed a lot of it.
If you know anything about the history of the VA, the first director of the Bureau of Veterans Affairs was just a friend of Warren G. Harding, and he wound up accepting kickbacks and taking money that was intended for hospitals, using alcohol that was intended for like medical care for the purposes of making booze during Prohibition. And eventually the Bureau was demolished for 9 years. I've heard horror stories about the VA now. I've heard it about under Trump, Bush. So it's like there's this rosy image of everything was great until Obama ruined it. And it even suggests that like somehow, I forget what the exact phrasing was, but it was like, but under Trump, it suddenly became a department worth meriting. Or explain that. So what? There's two constants in the military. Change and people complaining about how bad the VA is. It's like,
yeah.
100%.
Nailed it.
It's
go ahead.
It's like when they always say they're like, oh, this many veterans died with an appointment in the system. What they don't know is that you set your appointment so far in the future that you almost always have an appointment in the system. I've got 2 appointments in the system right now.
Yeah. So there's
my appointment for my next mammogram is already in the system, and that's like 11 months out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so of course we're gonna die with an appointment waiting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's the. Are you familiar with this part of the VA, the Human Resources Administration?
HRA.
Yeah. Well, there's just one thing, the one little comment that I just want to point out that is, it says transfer all career SES out of PAS designated positions on the first day. And I don't know what any of that means, but I'm going to read the last part of that sentence, which is like just sort of sort of typical of what they're going for. And it says, ensure political control of the VA. And that's the thing is, like, they go back and forth between, like, complaining about things being politicized and then specifically saying we need more political appointees who are loyal to the so-called conservative cause. Does it seem like political control of the VA is, like, a good idea?
No.
No.
Please explain why.
It's the Tommy Tuberville situation again, where Tommy Tuberville was refusing to appoint generals because the DOD had become too politicized. Like, okay, but this action is political in nature.
Right.
And if there's something that's really emphasized while you're still in uniform, it's like, all right, while you're in uniform, you're not a Republican, you're not a Democrat, you represent the United States.
Yeah.
And I feel like the Department of Veteran Affairs should follow suit.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%.
It needs to be nonpartisan.
Yeah.
It needs to be about the VA, about the veterans. It needs to actually be veteran-centric and not political.
Because you know what? There's veterans on both sides of the aisle. It should not matter what the political affiliation of any. We're here to get health care. Okay?
Yeah.
There's no reason to bring politics in it at all. It should, you help the people that worked for you. Okay? They would have died for you, and now it's your turn to step up and take care of them.
Yeah. Okay, this is great. In their personnel recommendations, this is 684. Increase employee satisfaction experience to improve recruitment and retention of VA personnel. Go beyond the traditional focus on the extrinsic, monetary pay and bonuses, and seek creative ways to instill teamwork, loyalty, and pride. So it's like
Mandatory Fun Day.
You heard that the same way I did.
Sorry, say that again. Say that again.
Mandatory Fun Day.
What does that mean?
It means you will have fun or the beatings will continue.
I see. Okay.
It means there's something that's not mandatory, like it's like a squadron picnic, but you still have to go.
Okay.
It's mandatory fun.
Well, it just seems like they're basically saying, like, we don't want to pay much, but, like, let's just, instill teamwork, loyalty, and pride.
Party.
Like
Bowling day.
Yeah.
And on that note, I should probably go, but this was a great conversation, and the good news is your other two guests sound a lot smarter than I am, so I think it's going to be a good show.
All right. Yeah. No, we're wrapping up. Thank you, Pete, for
Bye, Pete.
Thank you. It was a pleasure digitally meeting all of you. Well, except for Josh. I met you in person.
Yeah. Well, we met digitally in a different way.
Was that a different podcast? Or?
I met you at a comedy show in Athens.
I know.
Oh, I love Athens. Dude, I hit Georgia as often as I can. I will be reaching out.
All right. Look forward to staying in touch.
All right.
Right on.
We'll see you, Pete. Here's okay. There's really just a couple of more things that stuck out to me. Oh, this is the top of page 685. Manage the relationship with organized labor effectively and proactively. Now,
Anti-union.
What do you think that is?
Well, I think that, these are people who are just decidedly against unions. Full stop.
Yeah, they've already mentioned the union previously, so yeah.
Without these elements, labor reforms are very difficult to accomplish. They're trying to just have less union involvement with anything at all. So
yes.
I think that just relates to anything related to the VA. I don't know what.
They've always been union busters.
Who are in unions?
Here's something. This is at the bottom of 685, I think. It says work with Congress to sunset the Office of Accountability and Whistleblower Protection. It's redundant with the activities of supervisors as well as, I don't know, it's like they're going to get rid of everybody that would protect whistleblowers and
the whistleblower office. We don't need that. Yeah. They're anti-whistle for sure.
Let's get rid let's get rid of the safeguards is all through this.
Yeah.
Oh,
no.
deregulate.
Yes.
And I think if anyone's read any kind of history at all, we know that deregulation only leads to horrible, corrupt, power-hungry, terrible business practices.
Yep.
See Boeing.
The themes we've been seeing throughout the overall document are stop helping people so much,
Mm-hmm.
There's too many
Don't do that.
guardrails. Corporations will solve everything. So please just privatize everything and take away the
Unions.
the accountability of the federal government, and so we don't have to spend so much on helping people, and also only certain people really count.
Right.
Yeah.
The people who believe what we
Straight
believe.
males.
Yeah, and live the way that we want them to live. Those people count. Everybody else is a weirdo, and they should be on their own.
Yes.
And a small amount so they don't matter.
Yeah. That said, I will thank both weirdos from this episode.
Happily weird.
Billie Jo Gillispie and Leah Mansfield. If you had any, I think those were your closing comments. And I, as a man, am deciding that. So
I just love to have a man in church.
So I will once again apologize for being a man. It wasn't my choice about all of it.
Be you, man. We like you the way you are.
Okay.
Yes.
Billie Jo Gillispie and Leah Mansfield, thank you for being here. Oh, wait, did we pick the word to add at the end of the?
No.
Oh, I think I've got it. You tell me what you think. For America.
I like it.
Yeah?
Sure.
Okay. So this has been
Dumpster fireman for America.
Yes, this has been the Project 2025 Emergency Book Club comedy podcast project extravaganza roundup dumpster fire man for America. All right. We'll see you next time. Thanks a lot.
All right, man. Thank you so much.